Hey Long Island, it's Eric Martin Koppelman for Long Island News Network, Long Island Alive, and this is Long Island Today. Today we're in Mineola, New York. Mineola is known for a lot of things, especially the courthouse, but it's also known with the streets lined with law firms. And there are some law firms that just stick out amongst the others, and that's one that we're going to be visiting with today. So why don't you come on inside, let's say hello to the law firm of Cammarasana and Bilello. All right, guys, so I'm in the office of Charles Bolillo. And as you can see, he's busy working, but he's taking the time to take a minute to be able to talk to us. So I'll say good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Eric. How are you?
I'm doing well. Why personal injury? Well, first off, let me ask this question. How long have you been an attorney?
So I've been admitted in the state of New York since 1994.
1994. Why personal injury?
Well, coming out of law school, it didn't really appeal to me to never get inside of a courtroom. And going on a different track, let's say commercial litigation or some of the bigger firms that handle the mergers and acquisitions and things of that nature, typically those fellas and gals don't get to really see the inside of a courtroom until much later in their career, if at all. So when I weighed my options in terms of, what is it that I could do, make a little bit of a difference and still enjoy, getting into a courtroom and things of that nature, this stuck out as a viable option.
Were you a big fan of Perry Mason?
Well,
Or Matlock?
I mean, it's funny because you watch programs like that, and as I did, as I'm sure many other people did, and the reality is that when you're doing this, it's a tad bit different than let's say what we see on TV.
Absolutely.
If we could do how they do things on TV, I think this would be a little bit of a different experience for most practitioners.
Absolutely. Now, Cammarasana and Bilello is known because, and you've heard the commercials, and we'll talk to Tom in just a little bit about that, as far as the intake and things like that. But you guys are known as making sure that the client is really taken care of, that they get the compensation that they deserve. Where there's a lot of, and I hate to say it, but there's a lot of other law firms out there that are just in it for, the money. And of course,
Right.
You want to make a living, and I get it, but everything like that. But it seems like you guys really go and take it one step further. I mean, the one commercial that sticks out in my mind is the first offer is not the best offer that you can receive.
Sure.
So what do you got to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think in any profession or in any endeavor that a person chooses as their career, there's a shortcut and then there's the right way to do it. And we know who our adversaries are. We've been dealing with them now, like I said, since 1994. They know how to play the game better than anybody. And that's why it's important to get somebody on your side that has the experience to navigate through that minefield that they create and understand when you get to a place where, especially when an important decision in the case needs to get made, that you're making the right decision, because once that decision is made, the trajectory of the case is determined. So no, we don't take what we perceive to be less than the fair value for a particular case, let's say. And by doing that, what you're doing is you're creating a client base, okay? If someone leaves your office after a case and feels that you didn't really do what you promised that you would do when you met with them, it's likely that person's not going to refer other business to you or family member or things of that nature. So keeping that in mind and also wanting to do the right thing for the client just for that reason is, I think, what has formed some of the basis for our success.
Do you get personal involved? I mean, does it ever affect you? Do you go home at night and say, somebody's injured and I mean, you go through, you do a lot of cases and you're an attorney and you're doing your job,
Sure.
But do you ever really get, you know what I'm saying? Does it ever get you emotionally? Does
Well,
it ever, where you get really
Sure.
feel bad for the person and you really want to help them?
Sure. I mean, when you look back at a career, you'll have a few clients in mind that kind of just made you feel good that you were able to help them and get their lives back on track. What a lot of people miss is, these accidents can have a really devastating impact on a family, on a person's life, on a father who can't work any longer and has children and a mortgage and things of that nature. So that's where the satisfaction comes from. You know, does every result that we get, let's say, whether it's from a jury or from a settlement, you know, truly capture the essence of the case and whether or not justice was done? You know, I would say for the most part it does, but there are always those, you know, that you kind of look back at it and you say, geez, well, I wonder why the jury, you know, thought that, or I wonder why they came back with that verdict, or what have you. But those are the things that you have to deal with as an attorney, and you move forward and get on to the next one. So, you know, the vast majority you tend to feel good about.
What do you say to the people out there that have never experienced, never had the opportunity to really talk to a personal injury attorney, and they're not sure at this point whether they have a case?
Sure.
What do you say?
So, look, there's a coffee mug that I once saw in another attorney's office, and it said something along the lines of, "Don't mistake your Google search for my law degree." And so there's so much information out there on the internet in terms of rights and what can you do and what can't you do, and a lot of it is good, but there's also a lot of it that's not good. So what does it hurt to pick up a phone call and pick up a phone rather and make the phone call and run the fact pattern by someone that knows what they're talking about and get an honest opinion in terms of, you know, whether there is something there that can be, you know, actionable.
Thank you. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. I'm just going to back up here for a second and show you that he definitely is a busy attorney. Right?
Possibly even a sloppy one. But,
no,
busy, certainly.
You know what? But I bet you know where everything is.
I
So,
do.
all right.
I do.
So if they want to get a hold of you now, let's say, for instance, I'm involved in an automobile accident. It's Sunday afternoon or it's Sunday late at night, and I pick up the phone and I call Cammarasana and Bilello.
You won't get an answering service. You'll get a voice.
That's
You'll get somebody on the phone that's going to be able to you know, answer your questions, and if necessary, we'll make an appointment for you. Sure.
Now, we're going to bring up a topic that's hot in the news right now. This accident that happened on the Southern State Parkway with the bus. I'm sure there are a lot of parents and there were high school students and people on that.
Sure.
A lot of people aren't sure what direction they should head at this point. So I'm going to ask, not as their attorney, but I'm going to ask for a little bit of legal advice here right now as to what do you say to the people that were injured or that were on that bus?
Right.
Where do they proceed?
Look,
how do they proceed?
It's the type of thing that most people have very little, if any, experience with. Don't try to navigate the process yourself. If you do have questions or you have concerns, what does it take to pick up a phone and call a competent attorney? And that would be my best advice. Don't listen to anybody other than a professional attorney.
So Uncle Joe sitting at the dining room table doesn't know as much as the personal injury attorney that's been doing this since 1994.
Uncle Joe's probably a wise guy, but however, like I said, there's certain things that just need to be handled by the people that are licensed by the state of New York to handle.
Well, Mr. Bilello, thank you so much for doing what you've been doing, and thank you for caring so much about your clients. We appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
All right, guys, for Long Island Today, we're here at the offices of Cammarasana and Billelo.
Hey, this is Tom Mele. The number again, 1-800-95-NEW YORK. Okay, here's the deal. For years, I've been telling you, if you've been involved in an accident of any kind here on Long Island and you suffered a serious, debilitating, or even a soft tissue injury, you need a serious, tough law firm behind you, and you can bet the insurance company has them on their side. You need a firm that's here on Long Island, a firm that's not afraid to walk away from the first offer. Remember, we work for you. Listen, our team of personal injury attorneys, and there is a difference, we fight every day for people just like you. I've told you, we're not new at this. This is what we do. And wasting time with firms that offer false promises that don't get it and can't do it hurts the possibility of any recovery on your case. Call us 24/7. That number, 1-800-95-NEW YORK. Or visit our website at 95newyork.com.
All right, so you've heard the voice on the radio, I'm sure, and we're going to visit now with Tom Mele, right here at the law office of Cammarasana and Billelo. Hi, Tom. How you doing?
Hello, Eric.
So
Thanks for coming down.
You're a busy individual.
Yes, we are busy.
And what exactly when the phone rings here at the law firm? Let's talk about what happens then.
Well, we have an entire staff. We have legal secretaries and we have paralegals that are here, and they're going to answer the phone. They're going to find out what the problem is, and they're going to either direct you to myself, Charles Bolillo, or Jim Cammarasana.
Absolutely. How long have you been doing this, Tom? How long have you been in the business?
Since Moses came over the mountains.
Really? Okay.
I've been doing this almost 30 years.
And personal injury, I asked the same question to Charles Bolillo, so I'll ask you too. Why personal injury?
You know, personal injury is a very unique thing, and you know, when I got involved with law 30 years ago, you know, I could have gone in any direction. Actually, I was working with NICB at the time, and a lot of independent investigative firms. But I found that personal injury has a lot of satisfaction to it.
Absolutely. Now they like to say that you're the voice of the firm because of your voice on the radio commercials that are prominent on Long Island. And how'd you feel about doing the commercials and the way you did them?
I like them. You know, listen, at the end of the day, you know, we cater to a lot of the blue collar workers, you know, white collar workers, people up in different areas along Long Island, Muttontown, Huntington Harbor. You know, there's an attorney in every family. The problem is that a lot of the blue collar workers in a lot of the areas that are not upscale areas, they don't have a knowledge of the law, or they may not have a lawyer or somebody who does have knowledge of personal injury law in the family. So that's where we primarily gear our advertising towards. And you asked me, you know, why personal injury? You know, there's so many things that can happen when somebody's involved in a car accident. And, you know, I know Charles touched on it. There's a profound effect on the entire family. You know, the husband who 9 times out of 10 is the breadwinner, or if the husband and the wife are working, they got together to raise a family based on 2 incomes. So let's say hypothetically that individual, either one, whether it's the wife or whether it's the husband, is out of work due to an automobile accident. How do you step in and help that family out in order to deal with the expenses of living here on Long Island? I mean, it's one of the most expensive places in the country. So you have to make sure that you step in immediately and you gear them in the right direction. And there's a lot of things out there where people say, well, you should do this and you should do that. This is a very complex type of law to practice. And if you don't have the answers for these people, the probability is that it could get worse a lot quicker before it gets better. You know, I'm going to give an example. There's statute of limitations on a lot of different issues. You know, and the first thing that comes to my mind is the medical, because you're injured. So if you don't, and a lot of people don't know this, if you don't fill out that no-fault application within 30 days, it used to be 90 days, but within 30 days of that accident, you're going to be held responsible for those medical bills. So let's say hypothetically you're in a serious accident, you're in the hospital, and you're hospitalized for, let's say, 2 weeks. You come out of the hospital, you're now just getting things back together and you're trying to figure out what you should do, what you shouldn't do. You only have another week and a half to file something that you've had no knowledge of to your own carrier so that they will compensate the hospital for those bills. If you don't do
that's
it,
the reason that you
it's
really
coming
want
out of your
you want
pocket.
to deal with an experienced.
Call that person and get the advice from a professional. Have
So
your
take
wife
the time.
do it.
Take the time to call.
Have your wife do it, your father do it, your mother do it, anybody. You've got to do it immediately. And we will step in. We will come to that hospital, come to your house, have you come to the office if you're capable. We'll do the necessary paperwork. Once that paperwork is done, then the rest is smooth sailing for at least 120 days. At least you know it's out of your mind. You don't have to do it. And then the rest is recovery. You let us deal with the hard work.
You ever take your work home with you at night, Tom?
Yeah, all the time. All the time. Yeah, you know, in this business, it's for people like us, for like myself, Charles and James. It's not an 8 to 5 job. It's 24 hours a day, 365 days a week. You know, you get the client that, you know, is in the hospital, may not survive the accident, or the one that's in the hospital that broke a leg and can't go to work. You know, are we thinking about this 24 hours a day? Absolutely. It's a never-ending thing.
Tom Mele, everybody. And once again, Tom, if they want to get a hold of the firm, what's the best way to contact you guys?
The best way is you can get us on the 800 number is 1-800-95-New York, or they can call us directly here at 516-746-6066. Hey, listen, there is no way, you know, that you can't get a hold of us. You Google my name, Tom Mele, it'll come up with Cammarasana and Bilello.
Come on, Tom, give me that commercial line. Give it to me, Tom. You know I was going to ask you for it.
Hey, this is what we do.
This is what we do. All right. Everybody here at the law firm of Cammarasana and Billelo with Tom Mele, and you're with Long Island Today. Thank you, Tom.